Welcome to our view from the athletic director's chairs. We are joined by Cleveland State Director of Athletics, Scott Garrett. Welcome, Scott. Good to see you again.
Thanks, Roger. Appreciate it.
Well, the calendar has turned to October, which means it's basketball season here at Cleveland State. Give the fans out there a little preview of what we can expect this year.
Yeah, we're excited for the start of men's and women's basketball season. We go back-to-back nights at home with men's and women's basketball exhibitions on the 30th and 31st of October, which is just a week away as we film this. And so excited to see where our teams are at after some hard practices over the last few weeks. As we get into November for our regular season on the men's side, November 9th, the game against Edinburgh is really important for us. We want to bring some folks out for Coach Gates' first competitive matchup, and we're offering a chance to get free tickets, get exposure here at the Wolstein Center to our basketball program. We also have free parking that night and free popcorn. And so with advance notice, if you get online at csuvikings.com and go through the ticket office, you can claim free tickets in advance. And that'll give us a chance to get some folks in the building and show them what Cleveland State basketball is all about under Coach Gates' leadership. And we're excited to see where the season takes us. They'll go out on the road after that for several games against Minnesota, Missouri State, and South Carolina, and then return home thereafter with a number of big games, Florida International in particular, the first Division I game of the Coach Gates era. So we're very much looking forward to seeing how we make progress on the court. I know the guys are very enthusiastic. They've really played hard. The culture around our program is very strong, and so I know they're anxious to take the court, as well as the staff anxious to see what we have from a competitive perspective. And then on the women's side, I'm really excited about two preseason second-team all-conference players in Mariah and Savannah. Excited to see where Chris Kielsmeyer and the staff take our program this year from a competitive perspective. We're excited just as much on the women's side as we are on the men's side of seeing the progress on the court, and I know they're anxious. They go on the road a lot this non-conference season, and so that'll be some tough stretches, and they'll learn a lot about themselves through November and early December before we get into conference play. So I encourage all of our fans to come out and check out both teams.
Scott, members of the Viking Fund and our fans in general are in store for some new amenities this year. Can you touch on some of those, please?
On the men's side, we've got a number of improvements. We're sitting in the 5th floor Viking Loge, which is accessible to Viking Fund members at the $1,000 level and above. So their investment into our annual fund, if they're buying season tickets as well, gives them access to this space. We did a renovation of this space, new branding. You can see behind us the Magnus head and some Cleveland State branding and gray and green. Put some TVs up, and so much more welcoming atmosphere in this room. Hopefully creates more of a kind of sports bar type environment for the fans that are enjoying that experience. And then at halftime, we'll invite that same group down into the Viking Lounge, which is down near the locker rooms in the Wolstein Center. It'll give us more access to entertain folks that are in the Viking Fund without them having to navigate all the way back up to the 5th floor or up onto the main concourse. So we're excited to see how that goes and the engagement opportunities it creates with our staff, especially our fundraising staff and the university's fundraising staff, to have conversations about Cleveland State's priorities. This is what this environment is for. We provide a window to the university, and we want to utilize these spaces to have conversations about how folks can help us. From a general fan perspective, we're doing a lot of different things. You'll see improvements in the concession stands. You'll see improvements in the game day experience. What our games look like on October 30th will look a lot different than what they evolved to in February. So we'll be making improvements over the course of those 4 months of the season. I want to get my eyes and have our staff get their eyes on a couple of games before we really make substantial improvements, but I think people will notice from a hospitality perspective, from a customer service standpoint, that we're really going to try to go out of our way to make significant improvements. And one of those is dressing up what's been the Hoopy Hour, the 216 promotion, and we'll conduct that moving forward down in the baseline bar area. So hopefully fans will see that there's more activity there. You'll get discounted concessions and drink options there, as well as a discounted ticket if you buy that in advance. And so we're looking forward to hopefully kind of merging two different atmosphere items that we had in the past into one, and hopefully make that a more exciting experience. That'll just be the start of some of the things that we do.
Scott, as you continue to grow our department, an exciting addition in the women's track and field program with the naming of Amber Williams.
Yeah, Amber comes to us from Colgate, where she was the director of cross country and track and field. We had great interest in the position for our head coach for women's track and field, and we're excited about bringing Amber on board. She'll start on November 4th and really will serve as a role model. She was a decorated student athlete herself from Ball State, had spent some time there on their staff, and then has spent the last 4 years at Colgate, and really wanted to get back into this area of the country. So as we navigated that search, which was our 6th head coaching search in 6 months, hard to believe, but we found somebody that exhibits a lot of the characteristics and virtues that we've attracted in all of our other head coaching searches. She has a philosophy of accountability. She's a high character person. She really plans to invest in our student athletes personally, especially their development as students and as people. And I'm confident, based on her track record of what she's done from a competitive perspective, that our young track program will continue to propel and earn results in our conference standings.
Scott, we just got the graduation success rate results from the NCAA. Outstanding results for Cleveland State, a school record performance. Obviously, that makes you very proud.
Yeah, no question. I think it's really our biggest asset as a department is the performance of our student athletes academically. The GSR accounts for transfers in and out. It's a different way of calculating graduation rates instead of the federal graduation rate. Happy to report that our federal graduation rate continues to exceed by about 30 percentage points the university's graduation rate. And then if you account for transfers in and out and their ability to finish their academic careers over a 6-year period, we're at a 95 GSR, which is the second highest in the country for a public institution. Really impressive numbers. And that data is backdated, so that covers the cohort that entered Cleveland State between 2009 and 2012. So really it speaks to a long-term culture of academic accountability and success, and that certainly is something that we continue to aspire now today, is that sets the standard, right? Yesterday's records are tomorrow's expectations, and we have to continue to live up to that performance. We'll lead the league this year in that metric, and we continue to be very strong on APR as well, which is released later in the spring. So our responsibility to continue those metrics and do it in a genuine way where student athletes are not only performing at a high level, but performing in academic programs that lead them to successful careers is super important and continues to be a priority for our coaches and staff.
Scott, on the field as we wind down the fall season, the men's soccer team is right there in the mix, competing for one of the top 2 or 3 spots in the Horizon League.
Yeah, sitting in 3rd place, really great spot to be. We've won 3 games in a row. At the time that we record this, we've beaten Ohio State and Duquesne and IUPUI. We've got a big match against Akron next week, which tickets are available for. Excited to see how we fare against our intrastate rival. Really excited about the end of the conference season too. 3 more chances to position ourselves to host games in the conference tournament, and then see where we go. Anything can happen. We've got a young squad and a first-year head coach, and a number of recognized student athletes that earned Player of the Week honors both offensively and defensively this year. And so the trajectory of that program is really impressive. The guys in that program, I think, care tremendously about their performance and are going to finish the year strong.
While they wind down the season, wrestling and swimming and diving are also just starting now. So could you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, absolutely. So swimming and diving went to Akron this week, had a number of strong individual performances, especially Dominic, who earned Horizon League Swimmer of the Week, swept the backstroke events, and very impressive performance there. They'll go this weekend to Green Bay and Milwaukee, and so we'll get a chance to swim and dive against some conference foes and see where we stack up, and that'll really give Hannah and her staff a chance to assess kind of how far along are we, or how far do we have to go before we get to swimming and diving championships in February. So I know they're looking forward to seeing where everybody stands and how much progress they've made in this short fall training season, and we're really looking forward to hitting the pool hard over the next few weeks. On the wrestling side, we host a match the first weekend of November with John Carroll and Case Western, so 2 intrastate matchups that I think our wrestlers are anxious to get out on the mat in a competitive perspective and stop fighting each other in practice. So we're really excited to see where we go under Coach Moore's leadership. I'm anxious to get my eyes on our wrestling team. I haven't seen them compete yet, and so I'm definitely looking forward to having some fans come out and support them in that matchup the first weekend in November.
Scott, one of your focuses has been a strategic plan for the athletic department. Where are we in that as we move forward?
Yeah, so we've really just started to scratch the surface of that process. Next Monday, we will have our first Athletic Directors Leadership Council meeting, which will be a group of student athletes that our coaches have nominated that are either captains of their teams or exhibit captain-like qualities. And so we've got about 40 student athletes in that group that over the long term will do some leadership development that those student athletes can carry back into their programs. The first exercise we'll conduct with that group is some strategic planning so we can get student athlete input into that process. I'm really looking forward to that engagement. I know our student athletes care tremendously about where we're at and how does Cleveland State get better from an athletic perspective every day, and so this is their chance to provide that input to our staff, and we'll definitely be all ears through that exercise. We also had our visiting committee in last night. The visiting committee is Cleveland State vernacular for really advisory boards. So we've got a committee of stakeholders for Cleveland State athletics that met here last night. We went through a similar strategic planning exercise that we'll do with our student athletes, where those folks got a chance to give their perspective. Some of them are season ticket holders or donors to our programs for 20 plus years, and so to hear historical perspective, hear how we can reach our mission and goals is important. And we walked away, our staff and I, out of that with a ton of feedback that I think will be important for us to include. And then as we get into later in the fall and early winter, we'll engage our staff and coaches in that process, starting with our senior staff. We've rounded that out with the addition of Kelsey Gorey, who's our Deputy AD for Student Athlete Experience, comes to us from Johns Hopkins and will serve as our senior woman administrator. And so having our team in place, we really needed to wait for that. Now that we've really done our reorganization and have our staffing in place, it's important for us to take that next step and really sit down and spend time going through each of our goals and evaluating what can we do tactically, long-term and short-term, to achieve those goals and achieve our mission of providing transformational student-athlete experience.
Well, Scott, thank you very much for your time and for your leadership and your vision. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Roger.
For the latest in Cleveland State athletics, visit www.csuvikings.com.